My name is Jared Allball, spelled J-E-R-A-D. My favorite thing about being a firefighter would be the camaraderie that I have with the people that I work with at each location, whether it was Pittsburgh or the Outer Banks or here. I make lifelong friends, people that I can lean on for anything at any point in time. We call it the brotherhood, but it's very strong. It's like being part of a fraternity. It's absolutely wonderful. They're all my best friends, and I have them in 3 different states, and will most likely have them for the rest of my life. What does a day of a firefighter look like? Our day is pretty simple. We come in, we report for duty at 8 a.m. We're normally here about a half hour beforehand. We have a big pot of coffee on and talk to the crew that's off going in the morning, and normally you meet with the person that's riding in your seat. So today I'm the engine driver. So this morning I met with the engine driver and we talk about what they did and what needs to be done today, or if anything's broken, which there's always something broken. And then we come out, we check our truck, we go through the entire truck, we inventory every piece of equipment to make sure it's there, that all the batteries are charged and everything that we need to do our shift for the day. Then afterwards, once truck checks are done, we clean up the fire station and decide what we're going to do for dinner that night, possibly go to the store, pick up groceries. And then most of the day we train. There's a lot of training that's involved with being a firefighter paramedic. So whether it's fire training or EMS training for the day, normally we do about an hour's worth of training. And then after that, most of the day is just calls. And then in the morning we meet with the offgoing crew and talk to them about what we did, and starts all over again. What is my most memorable call? The most memorable I probably have is one that was a national case. It was April 20th, 2013 at about 11:30 p.m. I was working in the city of Pittsburgh on Rescue 1, Medic 9. We got a call for
Hello, please. I think my wife is having a stroke.
Hopped on the truck, showed up to the call, and found a husband that was screaming at us from the street to come help his wife. We went inside. She was laying face up in the kitchen on the floor. We assessed her. Couldn't figure out really what was going on. I think she was 41 or 42 at the time. We thought it might be a drug overdose. Definitely wasn't a stroke, and if it was a stroke, there was probably a head bleed, so something that we can't control. He said that she had creatine in her drink. There was a big bag of white powder next to it. I had taken that creatine before because I saw the canister on the counter as well. It was not creatine in the bag, just from the consistency of creatine. Creatine looks more like sand. This was like a powdered sugar. So kind of the difference between sugar and powdered sugar. You could tell that it wasn't what it was, but then we just set it down. That was just a side note. So after we got her in the back of the medic, the husband came up to the side door of the medic unit and started screaming that we needed to take her to Shadyside Hospital instead of Presbyterian, which we had told him inside the house that we were going to take her to. And he was saying that that's where she needed to go, that's where her doctors were, and we were explaining to him that that's not where we were going to go. She's too critical to go to a smaller hospital, and that she needs to go to Presbyterian. He was kind of unconsolable, just completely out of his mind, screaming about needing to go to Shadyside. And eventually we just shut the door on him and told him she's going to Presbyterian, and that was it, and he had no choice in the matter. And then we took off. Got her inside. A couple of the ER doctors noticed her right away and who she was, made some calls upstairs, took her in, and the second we moved her from our cot to the ER bed, she ended up coding. So they started doing CPR, and when they drew the blood work from her blood, it was a fluorescent red, the brightest red you've ever seen. Didn't look like any blood work I'd ever seen before. And they immediately started scrambling. She went upstairs to be put on ECMO, and then the blood results came back, and she ended up having 3 times the amount of cyanide in her blood to kill somebody. She ended up dying later that night. The husband chose to remove her off of ECMO less than 24 hours, which she could have been on for some amount of time, but she was declared brain dead and expired later that night. But then ensued a whole investigation. He had fled to Florida and a murder trial after that. And it turns out that he was a doctor as well with the University of Pittsburgh and in charge of their biological department, and had ordered cyanide 3 days before on a rush delivery. And so the trial went on. We went up to the stand, and it turned out that the bag that was on the scene that we held up actually held the cyanide in it and was missing when the investigators got there. So our testimony was kind of a big deal because we were the only people to see the cyanide, or the proverbial cyanide it was, that he had used and he had put in her water drink. So the reason why he wanted her to go to Shadyside Hospital is because he knew that Shadyside, being a much smaller hospital, didn't have the lab equipment to draw a criminal blood lab. That Presbyterian Hospital was the only hospital in the area at the time that could do that. So he wanted her to go there. That way, when they pulled the blood, by the time that they were able to get it over to the Presbyterian Hospital, she would not have any cyanide in her bloodstream at all, because its half-life is about 12 hours to where it totally dissipates out of her system. That being said, she wouldn't have had anything in her blood to show why she died at the time that he murdered her.